Marcus Chen stood at the back of the line, watching the other cadets show off their strength. The tall boy from Earth's military families lifted weights that would crush a normal person. The girl with silver eyes moved so fast she looked like a blur. Another cadet had metal arms that could punch through steel walls. Then there was Marcus. 5 feet 6 inches tall, thin as a stick, and about as strong as wet paper. His test scores were the worst in the entire academy. While other humans had genetic improvements or robot parts, Marcus was completely normal. The alien cadets looked at all humans like they were dumb animals, but they looked at Marcus like he was a broken dumb animal. The Galactic Defense Academy floated in space above a beautiful blue planet. Ships came and went like metal birds. Inside the station, cadets from dozens of worlds trained to become space soldiers. The Krillians stood 8 feet tall with 4 arms and skin like rock. The Vex moved faster than human eyes could follow. The Zephyrians could read minds and talk without opening their mouths. Marcus had dreamed of coming here since he was a little boy. Earth needed heroes to protect it in the big galaxy full of dangers. But after 3 months at the academy, he felt more like a mistake than a hero. "Chen!" Instructor Vrock's voice boomed across the training room. The Krillian's rocky face showed no emotion. "Combat simulation scores again?" Marcus's face turned red. "Bottom of the class, sir. Physical fitness test? Last place, sir. Strategy examination? Failed, sir." The other cadets laughed. Even the humans from Earth avoided Marcus now. They had their own reputations to worry about. Humans were already seen as the weak species. Having Marcus around made them all look bad. "Tomorrow is field training," Vrock said. "Wildlife preserve on the station's nature deck. Try not to get eaten by something smaller than yourself." More laughter. Marcus felt his face burn with shame. He wanted to disappear into the floor. The next morning came too soon. Marcus put on his field gear with shaking hands. The nature preserve was huge, covering 3 whole levels of the station. It held plants and animals from many different worlds. Some were friendly. Others would happily eat a cadet for lunch. "Stay with your teams," Instructor Vrock told the group. "Map the terrain. Identify dangerous species. Report back in 6 hours. Try not to die. The paperwork is annoying." Marcus was paired with Zara Okonkwo, a human girl with enhanced muscles, and Thys, a Vex scout whose people moved like lightning. They looked at Marcus like he was a weight they had to carry. "Just try to keep up," Zara said. She jogged into the forest at a pace that made Marcus run to match her walking. The preserve was beautiful and terrifying. Strange trees reached toward artificial suns. Colorful birds sang songs that hurt human ears. In the distance, something large crashed through the undergrowth. Thunder rolled overhead. The station's weather control system was testing new storm patterns. Rain began to fall in heavy drops that stung like ice. "We should find shelter," Marcus said, breathing hard from trying to keep up. "Weather doesn't stop real soldiers," Zara replied, but even she looked worried when lightning started flashing. The storm got worse fast. Rain turned into hail. Wind howled through the trees. Thys moved so quickly between the trees that Marcus lost sight of him. Zara activated her enhanced vision to see through the storm. "This way," she shouted over the noise. Marcus tried to follow, but the ground was slippery with mud. His foot hit a loose rock, and he tumbled down a steep hill, rolling through bushes and over stones. He hit the bottom hard, pain shooting through his shoulder. When he looked up, Zara and Thys were gone. The storm was too loud for them to hear him call. His communicator was broken, crushed in the fall. Blood trickled down his arm from a dozen cuts. Marcus struggled to his feet and looked around. He was in a valley he didn't recognize. The trees here were different, darker and twisted. The air felt wrong, like being watched by something hungry. He found a cave opening in the rocks and stumbled inside, just wanting to get out of the storm. The cave went deeper than he expected. His flashlight beam showed strange marks on the walls, like claw scratches but bigger than any animal should make. That was when he heard the sound. A soft whimpering, like a hurt animal. Marcus followed the sound deeper into the cave. His training said this was stupid. Hurt animals were often more dangerous than healthy ones. but something about the sound made his heart ache. It reminded him of his dog back on Earth when it was sick. He found the creature in a side chamber, lying on its side near a pool of water. At first, Marcus thought it was some kind of big cat. It had black fur, 4 legs, and a long tail, but it was wrong somehow. The proportions were off. Its eyes glowed with inner light. And it was huge, bigger than any cat should be. The creature looked up when Marcus approached. Instead of attacking, it made that whimpering sound again. Marcus saw the problem. Its right front leg was bent wrong. Probably broken. Blood matted the fur around several wounds. "Hey there," Marcus said softly. He moved slowly. Hands visible. "You're hurt, aren't you?" The creature watched him with those glowing eyes. Marcus had always been good with animals. His neighbors on Earth brought their pets to him when they were sick, because somehow he could calm them down. "I'm not going to hurt you," Marcus said. He sat down a few feet away and pulled out his emergency medical kit. "I know I look scary, but I want to help." The creature tilted its head, studying him. Then, to Marcus's amazement, it crawled closer. Marcus carefully examined the injuries. The leg was definitely broken, but he could splint it. The cuts needed cleaning and bandaging. He worked slowly and gently while the creature lay still and watched him. "There," Marcus said when he finished. "That should help until you heal up." He opened his emergency food pack and offered some to the creature. It sniffed carefully, then began to eat. Marcus shared his water too, cupping it in his hands so the creature could drink. The storm raged outside for 2 more days. Marcus stayed with the hurt animal, sharing his food and water. He talked to it like he used to talk to his dog, telling stories about Earth and his dreams of being a hero. The creature seemed to listen. Sometimes it made soft sounds back, almost like it was trying to answer. On the 3rd day, the storm finally stopped. Marcus packed up his gear, sad to leave his new friend. But when he walked toward the cave entrance, the creature limped after him. "You should stay here where it's safe," Marcus said. The creature bumped against his leg with its head, like a cat asking for attention. When Marcus emerged from the cave into the sunlight, the creature followed. And when the search team found them an hour later, they found Marcus walking calmly through the forest with the most dangerous predator in the known galaxy, trailing behind him like a lost puppy. The search team stopped moving when they saw Marcus walking through the trees. Behind him, moving with a slight limp, was a creature that made experienced soldiers reach for their weapons. "Chen, get away from that thing!" Sergeant Kor shouted. The Krillian officer's 4 arms all pointed weapons at the black-furred animal. Marcus looked confused. "It's okay. He's hurt, but he's friendly." "Friendly?" Lieutenant Hayes stared at Marcus like he had lost his mind. "Chen, that's a shadow maw." The name meant nothing to Marcus. The creature looked up at him and made a soft sound, almost like a question. Marcus reached down and gently scratched behind what he thought were ears. The creature leaned into the touch. Every weapon in the search team switched to full power. "Nobody move," Sergeant Kor said quietly. "Chen." Very slowly. "Step away from the creature." "Why? He's not dangerous." Marcus looked around at all the scared faces. "What's a shadow maw?" Dr. Yenna, the Zephyrian science officer, spoke with her mind voice trembling. "Shadow maws are the most deadly predators in known space. They destroy entire colonies. A single adult can tear apart starships." Marcus looked down at his companion. The creature was big, sure, maybe twice the size of a large dog. But deadly? It had been gentle when Marcus bandaged its wounds. It shared his food and slept curled up next to him for warmth. "This one's different," Marcus said. "He's young and hurt. I helped him." The creature moved closer to Marcus, pressing against his leg. Several soldiers took steps backward. "Chen, listen carefully," Sergeant Kor said. "Shadow maws have killed millions of people. They appear out of deep space without warning. They fear nothing and show no mercy. What you're standing next to is a baby version of a monster that could eat this entire station." Marcus felt the creature tense up at all the hostile voices. He put his hand on its head, feeling the strange warmth of its fur. "His name is Echo," Marcus said. He had started calling it that because of how it seemed to copy his movements. "He won't hurt anyone. Marcus Chen, you will step away from that creature immediately." "Commander." Thresh's voice boomed across the forest. The station commander had arrived with a full security team. "That is a direct order." Marcus looked at Echo, who was now trembling slightly. All the shouting and weapons pointing at him were making the young creature scared. Marcus could feel it somehow, like an ache in his chest. "It's okay, boy," Marcus whispered. "They don't understand." He started to step away as ordered, but Echo followed him. When Marcus stopped, Echo sat down next to him and looked up with those glowing eyes. "Tranquilizer weapons," Commander Thresh ordered. "Bring that thing down." The security team fired dart guns. But something impossible happened. Echo moved wrong. Like he was there, but not there at the same time. The darts passed right through him and hit trees behind where he should have been. Echo made a sound Marcus had never heard before. It started as a whimper but grew into something that made everyone's bones vibrate. The sound carried fear with it, creeping into the minds of everyone who heard it. The Krillian soldiers dropped their weapons and backed away, their rock-like faces showing terror. The human troops fell to their knees, shaking. Even Commander Thresh staggered backward with wide, frightened eyes. Only Marcus seemed unaffected. He knelt down and put both arms around Echo's neck. "Shh. It's okay," Marcus said softly. "Nobody's going to hurt you. I'm here." The terrible sound stopped. Echo pressed closer to Marcus and became solid again. The other soldiers slowly got back to their feet, looking confused and ashamed of their fear. Commander Thresh stared at Marcus with new eyes. "How are you not affected?" Marcus shrugged. "He's just scared. You were all pointing weapons at him. Wouldn't you be scared too?" The trip back to the main academy was tense. Echo walked right beside Marcus, never more than a few inches away. When other people got too close, the young creature would place itself between them and Marcus, but it never made that fear sound again. News of Marcus and Echo spread through the academy like wildfire. Cadets lined the corridors to stare. Most stayed far away, but some of the braver ones asked questions. "What does it eat?" asked Zara, the human girl from his team. "Same things I eat, mostly," Marcus replied. He liked the protein bars from my emergency kit. "Does it talk?" "Not with words. But he understands things. Watch this." Marcus pointed at the floor and said, "Sit." Echo immediately sat down. "See? The Academy's top scientists arrived within hours." Dr. Kellyan was the galaxy's leading expert on dangerous species. She studied Echo through thick protective glass, while Marcus sat with him in a special containment room. "This should be impossible, Doctor," Kellyan muttered, making notes on her tablet. "Shadow maws are solitary hunters. They don't form social bonds. They certainly don't bond with prey species." "We're not prey," Marcus said, though he wasn't completely sure what that meant. "Young human, your species is made of meat and has no natural weapons. To a shadow maw, you are very much prey." Dr. Kellyan looked puzzled. "Yet this one shows clear protective behavior toward you. It responds to your voice commands. It even seems to care about your emotional state." Echo was lying with his head in Marcus's lap. The young creature's eyes were closed, but his ears moved every time someone spoke. "There are stories, Doctor," Kellyan continued. "Old legends from the deep space regions. They say shadow maws are not mindless killers. They say they have complex social structures, like pack animals. But no one has ever been able to study them because they kill everything they encounter." "Maybe they're just lonely," Marcus said. "Maybe they attack because they're scared and don't know how to talk to us." Dr. Kellyan stared at him. "That's either the most naive thing I've ever heard, or the most brilliant." Over the following weeks, Echo grew larger. He was now the size of a small horse, though he still followed Marcus everywhere like a puppy. The Academy built a special room for them to live in together, after Echo refused to be separated from Marcus for more than a few minutes. Other cadets started to see Marcus differently. He was still the weakest human in combat training, still failed most of his tests. But he had done something no one thought possible. He had made friends with a monster. The Krillian cadets were especially interested. Their people respected strength above all things, and taming a shadow maw was seen as a great show of power. "How did you do it, small human?" asked Grex, the largest Krillian in their class. Marcus was sitting in the cafeteria with Echo lying beside his chair. The creature had learned to make himself less scary around others, though people still gave them plenty of space. "I didn't tame him," Marcus said. "I just helped when he was hurt. We became friends." "Friends?" Grex's forearms gestured in confusion. "You cannot be friends with a predator. You can only be stronger than it, or become its food." Marcus scratched Echo behind the ears. The creature made a happy rumbling sound that was almost like a cat purring. "If cats were the size of cars, maybe that's the problem," Marcus said quietly. "Everyone thinks about strength and weakness, predator and prey. But what if some things are just about being kind?" Echo lifted his head and looked at Marcus with those glowing eyes. For just a moment, Marcus felt something strange. It was like looking through different eyes, seeing the room from up high. He could sense where everyone was sitting, could feel their emotions like colors in his mind. Then the feeling passed, and Echo laid his head back down. Marcus didn't tell anyone about that moment. He wasn't sure he understood it himself. But something was changing between him and Echo. Something that went deeper than friendship. Something that might change everything. 3 months after Marcus found Echo, the Academy's research teams made a discovery that shook the entire galaxy. Dr. Kellyan called Marcus to her lab in the middle of the night. Echo followed, as always, his footsteps silent on the metal floors. The young Shadow Maw was now almost as tall as Marcus, and growing every day. "We found something," Dr. Kellyan said, her voice tired but excited. "We've been studying old attack records, trying to understand Shadow Maw behavior. Look at this." She showed Marcus a hologram of star maps covered in red dots. Each dot marked where Shadow Maws had appeared and attacked ships or colonies. "Everyone thought these were random attacks," Dr. Kellyan explained. "But they're not random at all. Look at the pattern." Marcus stared at the dots. At first, he saw nothing. Then Echo moved closer to the hologram, making a soft whining sound. Suddenly Marcus could see it. The red dots formed lines, like someone searching back and forth across space. "They're looking for something," Marcus said. "Exactly," Dr. Kellyan's eyes lit up. "We think they're searching for their young. Shadow Maws give birth in the deep void between stars. But cosmic storms can scatter the babies across huge distances. The adults spend years trying to find them." Marcus felt Echo press against his side. The creature was making small sounds, almost like he was trying to talk. "You mean the attacks weren't attacks at all?" Marcus said slowly. "They were parents looking for their children. We believe so. But here's the problem. Shadow Maws communicate through psychic fields. When an adult gets close to other species, its natural thought patterns accidentally trigger terror responses. The fear is so strong that most beings attack immediately." Marcus thought about the first time he met Echo, hurt and alone in the cave. "So, they can't ask for help. Everyone who sees them just gets scared and starts shooting." "Right. Except for you, Doctor." Kellyan studied Marcus with curious eyes. "We've run every test we can think of. Physically, you're a normal human. But somehow, you don't feel the fear response that Shadow Maws cause. In fact, you seem to calm them down instead." Echo rubbed his head against Marcus's shoulder. Marcus could feel the creature's emotions now: happiness, contentment, and something deeper. Love, maybe. Or the closest thing to it that a Shadow Maw could feel. "There's more, Doctor," Kellyan continued. "We've been studying human psychology, comparing it to other species. Most advanced races evolved past what they call primitive emotional bonding. They use logic and efficiency instead of feelings to organize their societies." "That sounds smart," Marcus said. "Maybe. But humans are different. Your species never lost the ability to form instant emotional connections with other beings, even across species barriers. You call it pack bonding, I believe. Marcus nodded. Humans did seem to make friends with everything. Their pets, their tools, sometimes even their spaceships. Other species thought it was weird. What we've discovered, Dr. Kellyan said, is that this primitive trait might be the key to communicating with shadow maws. They're pack animals too, but on a cosmic scale. They understand loyalty and family bonds. When you helped Echo, you triggered his protective instincts. He sees you as part of his pack now. Echo made a happy chirping sound and bumped Marcus with his nose. So, I'm like his brother? Marcus asked. More than that. You're his chosen family. And that's unprecedented. No other species has ever managed to form this kind of bond. With a shadow maw, the alarms started blaring before Dr. Kellyan could say more. Red lights flashed throughout the academy as the emergency broadcast began. All cadets to emergency stations. This is not a drill. Unknown ships approaching the station. Prepare for possible combat. Marcus and Dr. Kellyan rushed to the command center with Echo close behind. Commander Thresh was shouting orders while tactical displays showed 3 large ships moving toward the academy. Pirates, someone said. They're jamming our communications. Can we fight them? Marcus asked. The academy only has training weapons. Commander Thresh replied grimly. Those ships are military grade. We're about to send a distress signal, and hope help arrives in time. The first enemy ship opened fire. Energy beams struck the academy's shields, making the whole station shake. Echo growled low in his throat, a sound that made everyone's hair stand on end. Marcus felt Echo's tension growing. The young Shadow Maw could sense the danger, could feel that his pack was threatened. The creature's muscles tensed under his dark fur. Echo, stay calm, Marcus said. But even he was scared now. The second ship fired. This time the beams broke through the shields and hit the station directly. The lights flickered, and several cadets cried out as the floor shook under their feet. Echo had heard enough. The creature moved to the center of the command room and looked up at the ceiling. His eyes began to glow brighter than Marcus had ever seen them. What's he doing? Commander Thresh asked. Echo opened his mouth and let out a sound that was nothing like the fear cry he had made in the forest. This was deeper, stronger, and carried power with it that made the air itself shake. On the tactical display, something impossible happened. One of the attacking ships simply stopped. Its weapons went quiet. Its engines shut down. Echo made the sound again, and the second ship stopped too. The third ship tried to run, but Echo wasn't finished. The young Shadow Maw seemed to look right through the station's walls, right through space itself, at the fleeing pirates. His call reached across the emptiness, and the last ship went dead in space. How? Commander Thresh whispered. Echo turned to Marcus and made his happy chirping sound, like he was proud of himself for protecting everyone. Dr. Kellyan was staring at her instruments with wide eyes. The psychic emanations, she breathed. He used focused psychic fields to overload their ship systems. But that should be impossible for a juvenile Shadow Maw. Unless he's not just any juvenile, Marcus said quietly. He looked at Echo with new understanding. You're special, aren't you, boy? Over the following days, military experts came from across the galaxy to study what had happened. The pirate ships had been completely disabled, but not destroyed. Their crews were found unconscious but unharmed, with no memory of why they had stopped attacking. It's surgical precision, Admiral Korath told the gathered officers. The creature somehow identified the specific brain patterns responsible for aggressive behavior and shut them down. This level of psychic control is beyond anything we've ever seen. Marcus sat with Echo in their room, thinking about all the new information. His friend wasn't just a lost baby predator. He was something more. Something that could change how the galaxy worked. The other species are scared, Marcus told Echo. They think humans and Shadow Maws working together might be too dangerous. Echo tilted his head, those glowing eyes full of intelligence that was growing every day. But maybe that's exactly what the galaxy needs, Marcus continued. Maybe instead of everyone being afraid of each other, we could all be friends. Echo made a sound that might have been agreement, or maybe it was just a request for dinner. Marcus scratched his friend's ears and smiled. Outside their window, ships from dozens of worlds gathered around the academy. Some came to study them. Others came to decide if Marcus and Echo were a miracle or a threat. Either way, Marcus knew their quiet life at the academy was about to change. The galaxy had noticed them now, and there was no going back. The news traveled across the galaxy faster than the fastest ships. On every world, in every language, beings shared the same impossible story. A weak human cadet had tamed a shadow maw, and together they had stopped a pirate attack without firing a single shot. Marcus tried to ignore the attention, but it was impossible. News crews arrived daily at the academy. Important people from dozens of worlds wanted to meet him. His picture appeared on broadcasts throughout known space, usually next to Echo, who had learned to look less scary for the cameras. "They're calling you the Bridge," Dr. Kellyan told him during one of their daily meetings. The first being to successfully communicate with shadow maws. "I don't feel special," Marcus said. Echo was lying beside his chair, now large enough that his head came up to Marcus's shoulder when sitting. "I just helped a hurt animal." "That's exactly why it worked," Dr. Kellyan replied. "You didn't see Echo as a monster or a weapon. You saw him as a friend who needed help." The real breakthrough came when Dr. Kellyan's team finished analyzing the attack patterns from across the galaxy. The results changed everything people thought they knew about shadow maws. "We were wrong about everything," Dr. Kellyan announced to a gathering of top military officials from 12 different species. The shadow maw attacks weren't random aggression. They were search and rescue operations. Admiral Korath of the Krillian fleet leaned forward on his forearms. "Explain." Dr. Kellyan activated a galaxy-wide display showing shadow maw encounters over the past 50 years. "Look at the timing. Every major attack happened after cosmic storms in the deep void regions. We now believe these storms scatter young shadow maws across vast distances." Marcus watched the display with growing understanding. The adults were looking for their babies. Exactly. But when they approached inhabited systems to search, their psychic fields accidentally triggered fear responses in other species. The frightened beings attacked, forcing the shadow maws to defend themselves. What we called unprovoked aggression was actually desperate parents trying to find their lost children. The room was silent for a long moment. Fleet Admiral Voss, the human military leader, spoke first. "You're saying we've been fighting parents looking for their kids?" "That's exactly what I'm saying. And here's the proof." Dr. Kellyan brought up another display. Every attack site was thoroughly searched afterward. In each case, the shadow maws were looking for something specific. Juvenile pheromone traces that would lead them to their young. Echo made a soft sound and pressed closer to Marcus. The young shadow maw seemed to understand they were talking about lost families. Admiral Korath's rocky face showed deep thought. If this is true, then Marcus Chen represents more than just an unusual friendship. He represents the possibility of ending 100 years of conflict. Word of the discovery spread even faster than news of the Academy attack. Within days, Marcus received messages from colony worlds that had survived shadow maw encounters. Families who had lost loved ones wanted to know if their deaths had been meaningless accidents, but not everyone was happy about the revelations. Marcus first noticed the change in how some cadets looked at him. The whispered conversations that stopped when he walked by. The way certain groups avoided him in the hallways. "They're scared," Zara told him one evening. She had become one of his few friends since the pirate incident. "Some people think humans bonding with shadow maws is too dangerous." "Dangerous how?" Marcus asked. He was practicing combat moves with Echo, who could now phase shift through solid objects at will. The young shadow maw thought it was a game, appearing and disappearing around Marcus while making happy chirping sounds. "Think about it," Zara said. "Shadow maws are the most powerful predators in the galaxy. If humans can control them, I don't control Echo. Marcus protested. "We're partners. Maybe you believe that. But other species see a weak human giving orders to a creature that could destroy starships. They're wondering what happens when more humans bond with more shadow maws." Marcus had been wondering the same thing. Dr. Kellyan had told him that juvenile shadow maws were starting to approach other Academy ships, seeming to look for humans to bond with. The galaxy's power balance was shifting, and not everyone liked it. The assassination attempt came 3 weeks later. Marcus was in the Academy's garden section with Echo, practicing their mental connection. He had learned he could share Echo's enhanced senses, seeing through the creature's cosmic awareness to perceive things far beyond normal human ability. Through Echo's perception, Marcus sensed them coming before any alarm sounded. 3 ships, moving stealthily toward the Academy. Their crews felt different from normal visitors, cold, determined, focused on violence. "Echo, we need to warn everyone," Marcus said. But it was already too late. The ships decloaked right beside the Academy and fired immediately. Not at the station's defenses or weapons, but directly at the garden section where Marcus and Echo were walking. Echo moved faster than thought, wrapping his body around Marcus as the energy beams struck. The young Shadow Maw's natural phase-shifting ability activated, making them both partially exist in another dimension. The deadly beams passed through them harmlessly, but Echo couldn't phase-shift and move at the same time. They were trapped in the garden while the attackers tried to target them again. "Academy security to the garden level?" Commander Thresh's voice boomed over the speakers. "We have hostile ships targeting Cadet Chen." Marcus felt Echo's anger growing. These weren't pirates or accidental enemies. These beings had come specifically to kill Marcus and capture Echo. The young Shadow Maw could sense their intentions through their thoughts. "Easy, boy," Marcus said, but he was angry too. "They want to hurt our friends." Echo's eyes began to glow with the fierce light Marcus had seen during the pirate attack. But this time was different. Echo wasn't just defending against random attackers, he was protecting his chosen family from beings who had come to destroy them. The Shadow Maw's psychic call reached out across space, but not to disable ships this time. This time, he was calling for help, and something answered. On the Academy's sensors, new contacts appeared. Massive shapes, moving out of the deep void between stars. Heading straight for the Academy. Adult Shadow Maws, each one the size of a battleship, responding to a young one's call for aid. The assassination ships immediately tried to flee. But it was too late. The adults arrived and simply looked at them. The enemy ships went silent and drifted in space. Their crews unconscious, but alive. Marcus felt the adult Shadow Maws examining him through Echo's connection. Their ancient minds touched his thoughts, weighing his intentions, judging whether he was truly worthy of their young one's loyalty. What they found seemed to satisfy them. The massive creatures acknowledged Marcus with something that felt like approval, then vanished back into the deep void as quickly as they had come. Commander Thresh found Marcus and Echo sitting calmly in the garden, surrounded by the wreckage of the assassination attempt. "Are you hurt?" she asked. "No, ma'am," Marcus replied. "Echo protected us. And his family came to help." "His family?" Commander Thresh looked at the sensor readings showing where the adult Shadow Maws had appeared and disappeared. "Those were wild Shadow Maws. They shouldn't have any reason to protect you." Marcus scratched Echo's ears. The young creature was tired from using so much psychic energy, but happy that his pack was safe. "I think they do now," Marcus said quietly. "I think I'm part of their family too." The implications of what had just happened would take weeks to fully understand. But one thing was clear. The galaxy had just witnessed something unprecedented. Humans weren't just capable of bonding with individual Shadow Maws. They were being accepted by the entire species as worthy allies. Some beings would celebrate this development. Others would fear it. But none of them could ignore it. The age of humans and Shadow Maws was about to begin. 1 year after Marcus found a hurt animal in a cave, he stood at the center of the Academy's graduation ceremony. Echo beside him was now fully grown, standing as tall as Marcus's shoulder and radiating the quiet confidence of a mature Shadow Maw. They had both come a long way. Commander Thresh called his name, and Marcus walked forward to receive his commission. Behind him, Echo moved with silent grace, his presence no longer frightening to those who knew them. The audience included beings from across the galaxy, all watching the impossible pair who had changed everything. Cadet Marcus Chen, Commander Thresh announced. You graduate with the rank of Lieutenant and the special designation of Shadow Maw Speaker. You are the first being in galactic history to hold this title. The applause was polite but uncertain. Marcus still couldn't lift as much weight as the enhanced humans. He still finished last in foot races. His combat scores remained average at best, but none of that mattered anymore. What mattered was the young human woman in the audience, who had bonded with her own Shadow Maw partner 3 months ago, and the man from the colony worlds who could now communicate with the juvenile that had appeared near his farming station. Across the galaxy, more humans were forming these impossible partnerships every week. The Shadow Maw Speaker Corps is now officially established, Commander Thresh continued. 47 humans have successfully bonded with juvenile Shadow Maws. Together, they represent a new kind of diplomatic and defense force. Marcus thought about those other speaker pairs. Each bond was different, shaped by the personalities of both human and Shadow Maw. Some focused on exploration, using their partner's cosmic senses to map unknown regions. Others worked in rescue operations, their Shadow Maws able to reach disaster sites faster than any ship. All of them had one thing in common. They had learned that strength wasn't about how much you could lift or how fast you could run. It was about the connections you made with others. Dr. Kellyan approached the podium for the closing speech. She had spent the last year studying human Shadow Maw bonds and had become the leading expert on what she called trans-species pack dynamics. For centuries, she began, the galaxy believed that advancement meant leaving behind primitive emotional attachments. The most successful species were those that embraced pure logic, efficiency, and individual achievement. Echo rumbled softly, a sound that had become his way of showing interest in human speech. Marcus reached over to rest his hand on his partner's flank, feeling the warm pulse of the bond they shared. But humans proved us wrong, Dr. Kellyan continued. Your species' ability to form instant emotional connections across species barriers isn't a weakness. It's a superpower. You've shown us that love and loyalty can accomplish what weapons and technology cannot. The ceremony ended with Marcus receiving his first official assignment. The Galactic Council had voted to establish Shadow Maw speaker outposts throughout the frontier regions. Their job would be to serve as bridges between human civilization and the adult Shadow Maws, who still roamed the deep void, searching for their scattered young. It was important work, but Marcus didn't expect it to be dangerous. The galaxy had been more peaceful in the past year than it had been in decades. Now that Shadow Maw encounters were understood as rescue operations rather than attacks, most conflicts could be resolved through communication rather than combat. That peaceful time ended 6 months later. The warning came from the deep space monitoring stations first. Ancient signals, dormant for millennia, had suddenly activated throughout the galaxy's outer rim. Ships sent to investigate found structures of impossible age and design, clearly not built by any known species. Their artificial intelligences, Admiral Koreth reported to the Emergency Council session, left behind by some long-dead civilization. And they've decided that current galactic life needs to be cleaned up. Marcus listened to the briefings from the Shadow Maw speaker headquarters on Luna Station. Echo lay beside him, but the young Shadow Maw was tense with worry. Through their bond, Marcus could feel distant fear from adult Shadow Maws throughout the galaxy. The ancient machines were systematic in their approach. They didn't destroy planets outright. They purified them, removing what they considered inferior life forms and replacing them with sterile, perfectly ordered environments. Millions of beings were dying, not from violence, but from the machine's cold efficiency. They're too powerful for conventional fleets, Fleet Admiral Voss admitted during a strategy meeting. Their technology is millions of years ahead of ours. Every battle we've fought has been a losing retreat. Marcus felt Echo's attention focus on the tactical displays showing machine movements. The Shadow Maw's cosmic awareness could perceive patterns that normal sensors missed. Echo sees something, Marcus said. The machines are avoiding certain areas. Which areas? Admiral Koreth asked. Marcus closed his eyes and shared Echo's enhanced perception. Through his partner's senses, he could see the galaxy as a web of energy and life. The ancient machines moved through this web like spiders, but there were spaces they wouldn't enter. Anywhere adult shadow maws are present, Marcus realized. The machines won't go near them. Dr. Kellyon pulled up deep space tracking data. He's right. The machines have completely avoided 17 systems. All of them are known shadow maw territories. But shadow maws don't fight the machines, Admiral Voss pointed out. Our reports show they just disappear when the constructs arrive. Marcus felt Echo's excitement as the young shadow maw figured out something the adults had missed. Images flashed through their shared consciousness. Memories of ancient times. Knowledge passed down through generations of shadow maws. They're not running away, Marcus said slowly. They're taking their territories with them. What do you mean? Commander Thresh asked. Shadow maws exist partially outside normal space, Marcus explained, the knowledge flowing through him from Echo's inherited memories. They can phase shift entire regions into dimensional pockets. The machines can't purify what they can't reach. The implications were staggering. If the shadow maws could protect inhabited systems by shifting them out of the machine's reach, billions of lives could be saved, but it would require coordination on a scale never before attempted. The adult shadow maws will need to trust us completely, Marcus said. And we'll need every speaker pair in the galaxy working together. What followed was the largest mobilization in galactic history. Not of weapons or ships, but of bonds and relationships. Marcus found himself at the center of it all. Not because he was the strongest or smartest, but because Echo trusted him completely. And that trust extended through shadow maw networks across the galaxy. The operation began with Marcus and Echo at the forward command ship, coordinating with 46 other speaker pairs. Each human shadow maw team reached out to the adult shadow maws in their region, asking for something that had never been asked before. Please trust us, Marcus said. His words carried through Echo to shadow maws throughout the galaxy. Let us help you save everyone. The response was overwhelming. Adult shadow maws emerged from the deep void by the thousands, their massive forms surrounding inhabited systems like protective parents gathering their children. But instead of fighting the ancient machines directly, they did something the machines couldn't predict or counter. They took reality itself and folded it away. Marcus felt it happening through Echo's senses. Entire star systems slipping sideways out of normal space, carried into dimensional pockets where the ancient machines' scanning technology couldn't reach them. Billions of beings found themselves in a strange twilight existence, still alive and safe but hidden from the galaxy's new predators. The machines, faced with a galaxy that was suddenly mostly empty, began to shut down one by one. Their programming couldn't handle the absence of life to purify. Without targets, they returned to their ancient dormancy. When it was over, when the adult shadow maws began returning the hidden systems to normal space, Marcus realized something had changed forever. The galaxy's species had worked together in a way they never had before. Humans had proven their worth not through conquest or technological advancement, but through their ability to build bridges between vastly different forms of life. Marcus stood on the observation deck of Luna Station, watching ships from dozens of worlds dock with refugees from the machine purges. Echo lay beside him, tired but content. Their bond had grown stronger through the crisis, deepening into something that transcended friendship or partnership. We did it, Marcus said quietly. We actually saved everyone. Echo made his happy rumbling sound and bumped Marcus with his massive head. Through their connection, Marcus felt something new. Not just Echo's emotions, but the emotions of shadow maws throughout the galaxy. Pride, gratitude, and something that felt like family acceptance. Dr. Kellyon approached with a datapad full of reports. The Council wants to offer you any command you want, she said. Admiral rank, your own fleet, pretty much anything you ask for. Marcus looked out at the ships full of beings from hundreds of worlds, all alive because humans had learned to make friends with monsters that weren't really monsters at all. I think I'll stick with what I have, he said, scratching Echo's ears. After all, I found the best partner in the galaxy when I was just trying to help a hurt animal. Echo's rumble of agreement vibrated through the station floor. Outside the window, other human shadow maw pairs could be seen working together. continuing the mission of building understanding across the vast distances between species. Marcus Chen had come to the academy as the weakest human cadet. He was graduating as something entirely new. Proof that sometimes the most powerful force in the universe isn't strength or intelligence, but simply the willingness to see a stranger's pain and choose to help. And throughout the galaxy, that lesson was spreading one bond at a time.